collection in here. I could fill this place with motorcycles. This is where I wanted to live.
Peter.
Yes, Frank?
Hey, did you get the pictures on the boat?
I did indeed see them in a 2-year period. After
Mike Wolfe stayed silent for too long, but after Frank Fritz's tragic passing, he's breaking his silence. Shocking details are emerging about their final conversations, hidden struggles, and the truth behind their split. What did Mike finally confess? And why now? Stick around because this revelation will leave you speechless. For years, fans of American Pickers saw Mike Wolfe and Frank Fritz as the perfect team. Two friends hitting the road, hunting for lost treasures, and uncovering pieces of history. Their chemistry was undeniable, making the show a massive success. But as the seasons went on, something changed. Rumors swirled about their strained relationship. Fans noticed subtle shifts, awkward interactions, less screen time together, and eventually, Frank's complete absence from the show. The official explanations were vague, leaving viewers to speculate. Was it a fallout over money, creative differences, or something much deeper? Even after Frank's departure, Mike stayed quiet. He continued hosting the show while Frank remained out of the spotlight.
5 bikes here that haven't ran in 20 years. I can look at the quality of the restoration.
But after Frank's tragic passing, Mike finally spoke out, confirming the rumors that had been circulating for years. What he revealed was heartbreaking and shed light on the silent battle that had been taking place behind the scenes. But to fully understand what happened, we need to go back to the beginning. Before the fame, before the tension, before American Pickers changed both their lives forever. Long before television cameras followed their every move, Mike and Frank were just two guys with a shared passion for antiques. Growing up in Iowa, Mike developed an eye for valuable items at an early age. He started picking at just 4 years old, rescuing discarded bicycles, fixing them up, and selling them. Frank's journey was a little different. While Mike was out searching for treasures, Frank was working behind the counter at a local hardware store. He wasn't just selling tools, he was learning everything about them. He could identify the make and model of a vintage item just by looking at it.
The tourism industry here is incredible. I mean, there's so many people coming to town for
a skill that would later become invaluable. Their paths crossed, and their shared love for antiques turned into a business. They spent years traveling across the country, searching for rare finds. But back then, it wasn't about television deals or fame. It was simply about the thrill of discovery. Eventually, Mike had a vision. He wanted to take their picking adventures to the screen. For years, he recorded their trips, pitching the idea to network after network. It was a long, exhausting process. Many executives didn't see the potential. Some even suggested adding scripted drama to make it more exciting. But Mike refused to change their formula. He believed in their authenticity. And in 2010, American Pickers finally hit the air and became an instant hit. But with success came new challenges, and not all of them were easy to navigate.
into my store, all of a sudden my business plan had to completely change because they weren't looking for antiques. They just
When American Pickers premiered, it exceeded all expectations. Millions tuned in to watch Mike and Frank uncover forgotten treasures, share their knowledge, and negotiate deals. Their dynamic made the show special. Mike had the vision, while Frank had an unmatched eye for detail. But behind the scenes, things weren't as simple. With success came an overwhelming schedule. They went from casual road trips to an exhausting 250-plus filming days per year. Their once spontaneous hunts now involved production teams, advanced planning, and tight deadlines. Mike embraced the business side of things. He expanded his brand, launched merchandise, and opened a second antique archaeology store in Nashville. Meanwhile, Frank wanted to keep things the way they were, just two guys picking. Their differences, once complementary, became a source of tension. While Mike was focused on growing the brand, Frank started to feel like he was being left behind. The long hours, constant filming, and changing dynamic began to wear on their friendship. And then, something happened that made everything even more complicated.
People write my check. Every one of them do. So I try to spend as much time as I can with them.
Frank's health struggles began affecting his ability to keep up. While Mike was expanding the business, Frank was battling something far more personal: his health. He had been diagnosed with Crohn's disease years earlier, a condition that caused severe pain and fatigue. Filming for hours on end, traveling nonstop, and digging through heavy antiques took a toll on him. But he rarely talked about it publicly. Fans noticed he looked different, thinner, more tired, But they didn't know the full extent of his struggle. As the show's schedule became more demanding, it became harder for Frank to keep up. Production teams had to make adjustments, sometimes filming around his absences. Then in 2020, everything came to a halt.
I don't think I'm smart enough to be eccentric. Don't you have to be smart? Like,
The pandemic forced a break from filming, giving Frank time to step back. It was during this time that he made a decision. He wouldn't be returning to American Pickers. His departure left fans with more questions than answers. Why wasn't Mike talking about it? Was there bad blood? And was Frank okay? After stepping away from the show, Frank kept a low profile. Then, in 2022, the news broke. He had suffered a severe stroke. Suddenly, everything changed. Mike, despite their past tension, was one of the first to visit. Whatever had come between them no longer mattered. Mike spent time by Frank's side, making sure he got the best care possible. But just as hope was beginning to return, tragedy struck again. In 2024, Frank passed away. The news devastated fans. The man who had spent years bringing history to life was gone. For months, Mike remained quiet. But when he finally spoke, what he revealed shocked everyone.
Started since 8th grade. We've been picking, for 25 years. I mean, a lot of the stuff.
Mike confirmed what many had suspected. Frank had been struggling more than anyone knew. In a heartfelt statement, he admitted that their friendship had been strained in the later years. The fame, the business, and personal challenges had created distance. But at the core, they had always been family. He revealed that despite their differences, he had been quietly helping Frank behind the scenes, especially during his final years. Mike also addressed the rumors that Frank had been pushed out of American Pickers. He insisted that wasn't the case. Frank's health had simply made it too difficult for him to continue filming. Losing Frank wasn't just a loss for American Pickers, it was a loss for the entire picking community. He wasn't just a TV personality, he was a man who lived and breathed the art of finding forgotten treasures. His eye for detail, his knowledge of vintage collectibles, and his humor made him irreplaceable.
Mike's bought some parts and stuff from you. What about the knuckle here?
After his passing, fans flooded social media with tributes, sharing their favorite Frank moments from the show. His sharp negotiation skills, his love for old motorcycles, and his endless fascination with antiques made him one of the most beloved figures in reality television. But Mike wasn't just grieving the loss of a co-star, he was grieving the loss of a lifelong friend. Reports surfaced that Mike was heavily involved in making sure Frank received the best care in his final months. Sources close to the family confirmed that Mike helped arrange medical support, ensuring Frank was comfortable during his recovery. It was a side of their friendship that the cameras never captured. In a final tribute to Frank, Mike took things a step further. He helped establish the Fritz Memorial Fund, a project dedicated to preserving antique culture and supporting collectors who share the same passion.
Jimmy, this battery charging station. You'd put the batteries on here, they'd be for sale.
Unlike traditional charities, this fund was set up with a unique goal in mind: to support restoration projects and independent pickers who might not have the resources to continue their craft. It was a way to ensure Frank's legacy didn't just fade away with his passing. Frank was about more than just collecting things, Mike said in a public statement. He saw history in every item, and he wanted to make sure those stories were preserved. The fund is already gaining traction, with donations pouring in from fans, antique collectors, and even fellow reality TV personalities. It's a testament to how deeply Frank impacted people's lives, not just as an entertainer, but as someone who made history feel alive. With Frank gone, many fans are left wondering, what happens to American Pickers now? Can the show continue without him, or is it time to close this chapter for good? Some believe that American Pickers lost its magic when Frank left in 2020. While Mike has continued to carry the show forward with new co-hosts, the dynamic that made the series so special, the balance between Mike's big picture vision and Frank's detail-oriented approach, is gone. Mike's confession gave fans closure, but it also left them wondering, could things have been different? If Mike and Frank had reconciled sooner, would they have been able to pick together one last time? Now it's your turn. What do you think about Mike's revelations? Do you believe they could have repaired their friendship? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more behind-the-scenes stories.